Zone with my friend Cherie Doyen. Hi, Cherie.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, everyone.
Oh, I'm so excited to introduce you to Cherie and to know about how magical a being she is. I'm so blessed to get to work with her and play with her whenever possible. Um, Cherie is a magical light worker who is able to help people go past their trauma. And it is a remarkable process that she uses that she calls quantum therapeutics, but I don't even think quantum therapeutics is the right name. It's so big. So, but she's an author, author, speaker, lifelong researcher of suffering, and developer of the quantum therapeutics matrix. I was able to see Cherie do work on somebody. I just rewatched the video I took of what she did in a process last year at our Co-Creators Convergence event. And within 20 minutes, 15 minutes, she shifted this gal's suffering completely. You guys, all of us have suffering. All of us have trauma. From 0 to 7 is when we had things that, whether they were traumatic or not, we labeled them that, and we're running those scripts. So I want you to know about this incredible resource. So Cherie, I don't know where to start except to ask you, how did you get started doing this magical work?
Well, I grew up in a home that was violent, very traumatic, and as I moved through my life and I got pregnant, all of a sudden I started having all these flashbacks, and began the traditional trajectory of healing, and therapy and what have you. And through the years, like, I just got worse and got worse. My physical body, my emotional body, everything just worse. And finally, I had this doctor look at me and say, "Hey, I don't even know how to help you any further, but what I do know is you're not in there." And I said, "Excuse me? Like, if I'm not in here, then where am I?" And he said, "Right?" And he
Yeah.
said, "I don't know, and I don't know how to help you any further." And then I was kind of on my own, and I started really doing some research and traveling. I studied with Deepak Chopra and just kind of around the world, and shamans and medicine men were just coming out of the woodwork to say, "Hey, like, you know, this doesn't have to be." And I started thinking, well, I took an astral travel class, and I'm like, what? I'm not experiencing anything. And like you said, I usually have really amazing experiences, right? And until she brought us home and she brought me back into my body. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't know that I've ever felt that before. And as I studied with Deepak, and I bumped up against a place where I was like, listen, like, I could teach everything you're saying, and I'm not changing. I am still being triggered. And then I went on my own search, like, why? And I realized, like, being able to leave your body is a superpower if we actually know how to use it, and we're not just um, doing it out of a reactionary space, right? And I was like, okay, well, if I can easily get in and out, can I retrace my steps and undo all of that has me tangled up? And and then through me being able to unwind myself and really go into those time loops and dissolve them completely, you know I found I wasn't getting triggered anymore. And then I was like, well, okay, well, if I'm not getting triggered anymore, can this work for other people? And I started playing, and I started really playing with the people that the world has forgotten. Like, I went down into the shelter, and, I walked in, I was like, how many people are looping? Every person raised their hand, right?
Wow.
I said, how many people time travel? Every person raised their hand. They knew what they were doing, right? They just had no control over it.
Mhm.
And so that is my love, is to teach people how to take control of these superpowers that they gained through this trauma, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been blasted open. Many of my clients have this hypervigilant hearing, like they can hear in the house next door to them,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You
I,
know?
I can, I
Yeah.
can't be next door. I can, in a restaurant, I can tell you what's going on at both tables on both sides.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and if somebody catches my attention, right? And
Yeah.
most of my people are, right? And, and they're like, wow, I'm an empath. And they're so burdened by it. And I'm like,
Right.
listen,
Right.
being an empath is the biggest gift on the planet, because to
Exactly.
actually be able to step in someone's shoes and mirror them, right,
Yep.
and see where they're tangled is amazing if you're not getting triggered, right?
That's right.
If
That's
you're
right.
so I through my trainings, that's my big piece. Let me trigger you, all my healers that I work with, let me trigger you as much as possible, so that when you're sitting here, you can be a clear, clean mirror, right?
That's so beautiful. Well, I want you to know Olivia Parred's here, Cheryl Stegman. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Bob are here. Xana's here. Michelle's here. Hello, everybody. So basically, what you're hearing is that this is another way for you to quickly shift out of the scripts that are running the show behind the scenes, like the patterns that you see that keep repeating, that really don't serve you, but you just are like, how did I create that again? There's a way out. There's a way to really shift it, and then use these sensitivities and this knowing and these experiences to really share your gifts in the world, because your soul chose them. That's the hard part. It's a hard pill to swallow, that your soul would have chosen any physical or mental or emotional abuse that you've had. But but that is the journey here, right?
Well, and what's beautiful is I find people that have PTSD or karmic loops, to me, they're exactly the same thing, um, to be some of the most magical people.
Yeah.
Like, who time travels at the drop of a hat, right? They do. Like, they can be 40 years in the past. So, can we do that on purpose? You
Yes.
know, my people step back in time as their adult self and can rework that.
Hmm.
And I mean, truly, like, if our astral body carries weight, then there has to be molecules.
Right.
So if our astral body starts fragmenting through these periods, and we have these loops, which are like cysts on our timeline, which, FYI, many of us that have PTSD and have these loops on our timeline have cysts in our bodies as well, which is
Ah,
very interesting. It's very common, right? So we've got these cysts on our timeline, and if we can literally go back and release that emotion, release that time loop, right? We can gather back our molecules, and very quickly, like 10 minutes. It's not about the story. It's not about the story at all. I don't even need to know your story. It's boom, let's go to the start of that moment, the start of that cycle. This lifetime, another lifetime, it doesn't really matter. Let's put it to rest, and put it to rest fast. Usually it's 10 to 12 minutes.
yeah, I know. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I've seen, and we were talking about it as breaking the spell, because it really is like a spell that the circumstances, the storyline that you told yourself about what happened, created a cascading of events in your life, and it's still running until that. but with the way you do it, the thing that amazes me is how magical you are, but you can teach other people how to do this as well. I
Oh,
mean,
very quickly because they're
yeah,
already doing it. Disassociation and quantum jumping or astral travel, flashbacks, it's all the same thing.
wow.
It's just the world's labels, the muggle labels versus the magical labels, right? You know,
I
it's
like the magical labels, please.
yes, right? I find the mental illness labels and the spiritual gifts to be exactly the same thing. It's just what perspective are we seeing them through?
Right. If we're
Now, you know, most of my people are very scared by the point where they sit in front of me because, you know, nothing is making sense. Their physical world isn't making sense. What's
right.
going on behind the scenes isn't making sense. And if I can help them make sense, then their gifts start becoming useful rather than an illness or a dysfunction, right?
And
Because
we need their gifts. I mean,
we need them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's nothing more beautiful to me than to watch somebody, you know, move out of that fear into like, oh, I can time travel like that, right? At a thought, right? You know, so usually the first time I see them, they're nervous and emotional, and then it's not even about the emotion. It's just like, let's go. Let's put that away. Let's put it away. And we can clear the timeline very quickly. And then, you know, and then it's about learning how to live with your feet on top of the ground rather than being buried up to your waist, right? I always say, you know, would Jesus have been Jesus in the same amount of time if he'd have started out buried up to his waist? Right? No, he'd have had to climb out of that hole. Well,
right,
let's get you out of that hole like that.
right,
You
right.
can go be who you were intended to be.
Wow.
So, you know, I was you know, I teach what I'm doing now, and I had a young man in my class recently, and he's watching, you know, a session with someone, and he was just mouth hanging open. He goes, the the difference between how this woman physically looked from start to finish was like a completely different person.
Right. Well, that's what I saw. I watched you do it.
Yeah,
It
light
was,
coming out of the eyes, the skin radiating. And he goes, so really, we're connecting them back to themselves. But
yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, right?
How
You know,
perfect. How
yeah.
perfect. Well, and the thing is that so many people spend not millions, but thousands and thousands of dollars on self-help work and on personal development. And the thing is that if you don't get down to this trauma and release it however you can, excuse me, you are still going to be running those improvements over that storyline. So
The
this,
Theraveda says that those first 7 years hold like our default programming. And
ah,
that's what I really bumped up against when I was studying with Chopra was like, okay, like when I'm conscious and I am moving through the world, all this information is useful. But when I'm triggered, it
yeah,
doesn't matter at all because
yeah,
the only thing it's running is that one dimensional program,
right,
that
right,
one emotion, right?
right.
And when it started showing up for me, I started seeing children around people. And I was like, weird, what is that? Like, what am I seeing? And then I was realizing, oh, it's them and they want to come home. Like, those versions of ourselves need to be incorporated
Right, right,
in who we are so that we aren't duplicated.
right, right. Well, the other part that's amazing is the way that in as little as 90 days, some of your programs are 90 days long. That, I mean, when you think about these year-long programs that people go through, I mean, and of course that was then, because now I believe everything can be done a lot faster. But there's so many programs that the way showers from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the early people, um, they brought through this long, slow process of release or awareness. And and what you are offering is that you can go straight to the heart of the matter, and release it at a quantum level so that it is out of their physical body, their mental body, their emotional body. Is that
Completely.
correct? Yeah.
Completely. And, it's amazing that, I'll look at people and be like, what if you didn't have to put your energy towards fixing yourself anymore?
Right. So
Right?
cool.
30 years I was in therapy, right? I'm like, what if in 90 days you could actually be alive
Right.
and activated and purposeful rather than, because it truly becomes like, and I hate to say this, but it becomes very, sort of narcissistic in a way because every ounce of our awareness is on ourselves and like how to fix ourselves, right? So what if instead of thinking about yourself 24/7, you could start turning your awareness out to why you are here,
Right.
purpose.
Well, it's feeling safe though. I mean, I think that what you see with a lot of the trauma people is that they're in a it's like Groundhog Day. You're just stuck in
Well,
this same.
that's those time loops, right?
Right, right,
And
right,
we have to understand that child abuse is really a step lower than a concentration camp. Because when a human is in a concentration camp, they're not thinking that the people that are holding them captive love them, or are keeping them safe, or have their best interests at heart, right? So that's the mind game that these kids are, and we as adults, it's like we have to somehow put that away so that we can get up and have breakfast with these people,
right,
right? We have to. So in that, hence the time loops. The kid gets out, they encapsulize that really yucky event,
right.
right? And they go, okay. Now, as a kid, I mean, I know I came here to do this because the awarenesses I had as a child were brilliant. Like, I remember knowing that my memory would go away, right? Because people would ask me, what's happening to you? And like, I would just say nothing
Oh,
because I couldn't remember.
oh my gosh.
I couldn't remember. Like, I knew something really bad happened, but I couldn't remember enough. My grandma raised 52 foster kids. So I knew that system and I knew what it was going to take if somebody really started investigating. I needed details, right? So after an event, I would go into my bedroom and I would sit there and try so hard to hang on to the details,
Wow.
right? And it was like a pop, kind of like when you get up to go to the bathroom in the night in a dream and you're trying to hang on to it and you can feel that bubble close.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
the same thing, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's why we stuff it is we don't want to go through the pain of acknowledging it and process the pain. Is that our
I
system?
I don't know. I mean, not for me. I knew that I had to live there. Like, how could I get up and have breakfast with the man who just molested me,
Wow.
And with a consciousness around that event? You can't do it. A child has no capacity
Wow.
to process that, right?
Right.
Don't, right?
Right.
So, and it's not like that person is going away. They're still sitting to the left of you at the table,
Wow.
right? And acting then like your daddy. So there's a whole big mind game that's being played there with these children.
Confusion. Oh, that's horrible. I didn't even, I've never even thought about all of the ramifications of all this. And and when you've been working, Cherie works as a volunteer to help with human trafficking victims. And do you want to tell? Well, first I want to welcome Hermilo, and Dawn Lynch is here. So
Hi,
welcome,
guys.
guys. So, but could you talk a little bit? I know you just told me about the battery acid.
Oh my
Can
goodness.
you tell a little bit about that?
Yes, I just had a woman that was just rescued, and somebody had injected her with battery acid.
Can't
Who
even.
does that, right? So,
Why?
because they were trying to kill her.
Right, but isn't that a slow way to kill somebody? Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, well, then they
Oh,
raped her and like
yeah,
so much. Like, I mean, it's just pure evil. Like, you don't even know what, you can't even put your mind around it. Thank God,
yeah.
right? So she was in the hospital, and the guy actually was brazen enough to go back to the hospital and check her out and leave her in the come and go parking lot to die because she didn't die the first time. So she ends up driving herself back to the hospital. And anyway, she ended up, she was in the hospital for about 30 days, was out, and she had just this hole in her hand,
Oh my God.
right, from the battery acid. I mean, and they were wanting to amputate her arm. And she's brilliant. She is very magical as well. And, but had no real ideas around like the fact that I could touch her and things would change or
Yeah,
whatever. She was just like in survival mode.
right.
And she was in front of me and I could tell like she was just in such pain, such pain. And I was like, can I please, can I touch you? Because, I mean, I'm not just gonna, you can't just go and touch these people. They're scared to death, right?
Of course.
So I just held her hand in my hands like that. And I did that twice. And she went to the plastic surgeon and they were blown away because it was almost healed.
Wow. And that was like within a week afterwards, or
That was no, she had been in the hospital for 30 days, but the hole was not healing, right? So we were actually regenerating cells.
so,
Like,
so your superpowers are more than just the psyche. It's also it's physical. It's really physical. Okay. Well, I put up your website so people can know. Now, if you like, for instance, I don't think I've got those kind of issues, but I do want to clear. I think this timing right now is set up for humanity to clear as much of the scripts or
I
the
think
trauma.
the universe has sent us to our bedrooms to think about what we have done. So I just saw a bobcat, which we don't have.
You're in Missouri, just
Yeah,
so everyone knows.
just a bobcat just walking up the highway, right? The animals are coming out, which I love. Like, anyway.
So, but I wanted to talk about how you wouldn't necessarily, you would just need somebody that you could help, didn't have to have huge trauma. I mean, I know on your website, which I'm showing, which is quantumtherapeutix.com, that you do work with people that have had these drastic issues, but a child, a 20 or 30-year-old that's been through, their parents got a divorce, they've had that kind of trauma. All of us have had some.
Level of trauma doesn't matter, right? If there are loops, we dissolve them,
Okay.
right? And, I mean, my taking this to that level was almost improving to myself. What can't it not do?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in working with, and I find trauma to be our level of sensitivity, not about the actual incident, right? So I've had people that got in trouble at dinner for not eating their food that were just as traumatized as,
Right.
because, somebody that's had a lot of
Right.
trauma gets
Uh-oh.
desensitized to it almost, right? So,
Uh-oh, the internet froze for a second. Are
oh,
you there?
I'm
You okay?
here. Mhm.
Okay, maybe it was just mine. Okay. Well,
So the level of sensitivity, right, is what determines whether we make those loops or not, and our level of magic too, right? So I find that the highly sensitive person, right? I've got a woman right now that, is disassociative, right? So she was diagnosed with DID, alternate personalities, which, I had 5 sessions with her and she's living her life. She's out living on her own now. And, you know, because, and it wasn't like she had tons of young trauma. It was that she was so magical and so sensitive that she was picking up on everyone else's,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the disassociation, right? And when once she understood that she was accidentally doing that, then she could take charge of not doing it.
Right, right. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So, so the trauma that everyone's going through right now, I mean, there's waves of I got this, and then I don't got this right now with what's going on in the world. Do you have recommendations for people of what they could do, or how they could look at it differently?
Well, I feel that we're really being called to look inward and create something different. The world is not happy with us. The earth is not happy with us. And I do find it interesting that the earth is rejoicing with us being in our houses, right? The animals are all out, like, I mean, there was even a thing on the news today about that. So I think that if we could really sit and go, okay, let me fix me, because fixing me is going to fix everything.
Right, right, right.
And this whole like physical distancing to me is different than social distancing as
Right,
well,
right, right,
right? We're connecting, right? And I'm finding people just coming out of the woodwork. Like I had this beautiful woman came up to my daughter in the Walmart and asked her if she could pay for her groceries, right? You don't see those kind of things, right? So I think that us like taking this time that the earth has given us to look inward and raise ourselves, right? And become aware of the imprint we're leaving on this planet and the
right.
damage, right? I truly believe that. And get outside.
Yeah,
Because if you are outside, the only thing out of sync in nature is you, right? So go outside with the idea that you are going to be observed and be a part. What I find that when I'm right in nature, nature plays with me, right? I had a red-tailed hawk just land right in front of me and just dance and play. You know, when we're feeling all domineering and dominant and all the earth is going, you're separate. You're not a part of us,
right.
right?
It's not the dance.
It's not the dance.
No.
It's us trying to control everything,
Right, right. And
right?
we're not co-creating in that way either. Then we're so discordant with the energy of what creation is. So yeah. Well, Cherie, do you mind? I want to explain how magical this woman is. I know she doesn't. I don't know if she'll kill me later. Um, but first of all, Cherie is in a program that I do called Mindful Marketing Magnetism, and there's only been one other person in all the times that I've taught this class that offered to help others in the class, and that was Don Lynch, who's here. But Cherie reached out to the other people. I mean, we're doing this program. We're almost done during all of this upheaval. And not everybody is real comfortable with it or excited about having to look at their stuff. And so I just want to honor you for your how generous you are and how generous Don was to help people without any thought of themselves. It was all in true giving.
Mm.
That's one thing. Then the other thing is that when I met you, I so I have this weird skill of seeing people that are different and knowing who they are or what they are. And that's how I've actually worked with so many amazing people, is I see them and they see me. And not everybody sees each other. I mean, would you agree with that? I mean,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
so so I saw Cherie and I knew she was a fairy. I mean, I knew it. I don't know what I am exactly, but maybe I'm part fairy and that's why I don't know. I don't know, but I knew it. And then when we started working and doing timelines and stuff, oh my God, what she can do and what she's going to bring in for humanity is so blessed. It's what we really need for this reset and this realignment to our divinity. And so I want to encourage you guys to go to our website, watch her videos, do whatever you can to get more of Cherie, because when I went deep into her, I saw just pure white Christ-like light, just pure white light. There wasn't, and that's a rarity in over 20 years of doing this that I've ever seen that. So, and it's Christ-like. So this is someone that in very short order could shift you to really loving yourself on a deep level and being able to share your gifts like you never even could conceive of before.
Well, you know, I really believe I am on this planet to break this spell of suffering. Like, you know, it is a collective spell. And we've been blindly following, right? And let's create an army and of light,
Well,
right?
that's what I wanted to ask next, was about how you can teach it, because you've made very sure that you have a program that people can use this, that may have other healing modalities, that they could learn the quantum therapeutics, but they have their own magic or energy work or connection to source. They may do Reiki or acupuncture or some other kind of energy work. How were you able to transfer this knowledge to others?
um, I have a training program that we're in our third round of, so it's getting honed in, you know, and we really dive into the quantum mechanics of trauma and karma and PTSD, and it's learnable, right? And it can be incorporated in everything you do, right? And I really feel that us creating a quote army of white lighters that can very quickly. I know as a healer prior, like it was frustrating to feel like I, you know, was doing Reiki on people and then they'd come back the next week. And you know, it's like, no, what if you could become obsolete? There's a lot of people on this planet, right? You know, so if we can rewrite their timeline and create change, it's funny because at the end sometimes people don't even remember why they came here in the first place.
Oh,
we,
that's
we
so
shift
cool.
time that much, right? And they don't even really remember me, which is interesting, right? It's been interesting to grow because they don't really remember they ever came to me in the first place, which I love. Like you know, it's like there's a lot of people on this planet, so let's activate them and
That's
let
right.
them start living.
So give us some examples of some ways, because that the idea of someone being afraid to go. I mean, you already know, or if you're sensitive, you know that you're walking into something that's going to shift you. You already feel it. And sometimes you just resign yourself to do it. But sometimes it's like, oh, what have I done? And you almost want to cancel, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying they come in, they have the experience, and then they're totally in such a different timeline now they pick a different timeline
They
to.
pick a different timeline and they don't even really remember it.
Oh,
I actually had a woman say to me, she goes, because of course I explain it, but it's not really registering.
yeah.
And about halfway through, the 90 days, she said, "We're rewriting time, aren't we?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Because I hardly even remember what happened to me." And I was like, "Yeah. So now you can start living."
Oh, so the story's gone. So I can't wait to see what you do when you have a whole army of people that are at that level and what you create to help them do the next step. So Terry Tupper's here too. I don't know if you remember Terry, but he's the one who makes those wonderful crystal tables that we used at the
Oh,
middle of.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, here's one of here's a little one of. So
Yeah.
you can, yeah, he's on too. Right
Hi.
here. so, so give us some more ideas of how you've worked with people. I mean, not just these. I mean, they're amazing, but how can somebody who's just like a small business owner, this conscious business own, and they can see that if they do have employees, that they've recreated a family pattern. That's my experience as a consultant.
If you are feeling stuck, we can change it, right? Because if you're feeling stuck, there's a tangle somewhere, right? And tangles always hold us up and loops get caught on everything in a very tangible way, right? So, you know, truly, and that would be probably a pretty really quick fix.
Okay, okay. So
Right?
Gas Paolo put thank you, inner heart, deep self heal, just be sets me free.
I love
That's
it.
cool. That's cool. And Don put releasing is fun. So um how do you see this effect though long term of people going through this? I think I mentioned to you one of my neighbors is watching the news 24/7
People are
and
getting triggered left and right.
really, really.
Right? They're getting triggered left and right. And it's triggering a lot of old things like, not having enough, being sent to your room, right? Like all those things, like the separation, the isolation, we're getting triggered all over the place. And maybe it's on purpose, right?
uh, I can't hide from it now, that's for sure.
Yeah. So let's go in and dissolve it. What I find too is like people are nervous at the beginning and emotional, and then they're not even emotional anymore. It's just like, let's go do it. Right. So, because when we go back in time, we're
Uh-huh.
actually able to, as an adult, deal with the child. Right. And we can give the care and love to the child that needs. Right. And we can keep that separation and understand that's the child's emotion. So we don't have to enmesh with it. We
Ah,
can help the child relieve it. Right. So, most of my people, like you were saying yesterday about, the crying and what have you, no, that happens maybe once or twice at the beginning. And then people are just like, let's do it. Let's go. Because, they're realizing that they don't have to relive that. They're going in to create solution around it. Right. And Dominher talks about time and, being able to introduce neutral to slightly uplifting information. So we're going in, you can't go in and like, take information that's so far apart that it can't meld, but we're taking that adult story and the child story and making them one, right?
beautiful.
Which dissolves the loop or the cyst on the timeline, right? And pretty soon the resilience that we lost through all that fracturing, right, starts becoming, like a trunk of a tree, right? It starts all folding into where we're actually living in one timeline rather than bouncing, you know,
Yeah,
through the cosmos at willy-nilly.
right, right. Right. Well, the people do astral travel and let's go see what we're going to find. It's like, oh, you have no idea.
right?
Well, I want to tell you, Sony Ade's here and Elke's here from Australia.
Hi.
And Elke, you might want to get to know Cherie. You would really, really enjoy what she has to offer. And Olivia put, do you think people get too attached to their stories?
Oh, absolutely. Right. And most of the time it's not true, which is interesting when we go back as well as the adult, you know, the blame and the guilt and the shame and all that, like we can stand back from this objective place and go, whoa, like I had a completely wrong impression of what was going on.
Right,
Because, you know, when you're watching a movie, you can see what everybody's doing. You know, when you're in fear, you're only seeing through a pinhole. Right?
that's right.
And you're just in fight flight. You're not thinking about what's going on around me, right? So often we're embodying things that aren't true, right? So
Right,
if we can go back and uncover the truth, the emotion goes. There's rarely emotion in truth, right? The emotion comes even if you're in a car accident. Usually afterwards, you're sitting there, you don't feel anything until the story starts building in your head,
right, exactly.
right? So
Yeah,
we take you back to that truth space where you're going, huh? You know, like a woman said to me the other day, she said, weird, I feel blank. And that's a good thing, right? You know, that's a good
what happens when they do release a story that, I mean, you've got this void of your whole, I've been sick, I've been wronged, I've been whatever it is, the victimization thread. What happens when you get rid of it?
well, when we're rewriting time, it's getting rid of it, right? Because we're creating a new story. And as we go through the fusion vortex and we bring those molecules back and that information back, right? It shifts everything inside of us, which gives us the opportunity to create different behaviors, you know, different word choices. I watch people's vocabulary elevate,
Isn't that fabulous?
right? And it's like they're just getting a humongous upgrade.
That's so cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, and that's, I feel this is the perfect time. You guys, okay. Oh, Noelle and Bob are doing a watch party for this. They
Oh, thank you.
thank you so much. Yeah, our CCC family is amazing, isn't it?
Yes, thank you so
To
much.
all of you guys. So one of the other things I wanted to share is when I work with people, I get the great pleasure of helping see timelines and help their higher self use me to show you a way to get to a good timeline for you, the best
Mhm.
timeline, whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. And Cherie is the only person so far, and I've been doing this for 20 years. She's the only person that was able to jump in there with me and see what I was seeing with me. I see like a movie and
Yeah.
in full color, and she wasn't in the way.
Because that's what I do in my work.
I know, but you were in there, and it was you talking to you anyway. So it wasn't me. I mean, it wasn't, I was just being used as a translator. That's usually my job is I see these movies and I try to put it into some information and then give it to you so that you can acknowledge it. And so I'm a mirror too. I'm just putting a mirror back up. But you are the only person that was in with me before. And that was cool. It's like, we should do that.
You were very clear.
That was, yeah, well, it's not me, it's
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. You were very clear. But when in my work, like when I'm sitting with somebody, that's what makes it go so fast is that I can mind meld with them like that. And I can see what they're seeing and see what they're missing, right? To where you're like, well, why don't you look over to your right? And you know, what do you see over there, right? And or could it be possible that this was the intent of that conversation. You know what I mean? Because
Of
I can
course,
witness it and I
there
can
is
be.
no there's no chance. I mean, if your soul said, "Oh, I've been there so many times. This time I want to know what that feels like," or last time I did it to them, now they're going to do it to me. I mean, we don't know from that higher level what the full game is in play. So you can't really, I mean, you have to process it and then know that that's your, when you said everyone's got superpowers, that's exactly the way I look at it. As I mean, again, I'm just so glad to know you, because this is the hero's journey or the heroine's journey or whatever you want to call it. I believe that that's why we came here, was to go through these experiences, have the compassion, and push through it, and then show others
Oh,
and
absolutely. I even knew that as a child. I on one hand, my childhood was so difficult, and on the other hand, so magical, right? I had this Black Panther that was my best friend, and I didn't know if he was real or not, right? He was real. I could touch him, you know. I had visitations. I was taken, you know, to other planes of existence, and you know, and I realize that most of my clients have had these similar experiences, right?
right,
They have, and they're the most amazing. You know, I feel like our world is devoid of the magic. They're all tangled up. So let's untangle them because we
yeah,
need them drastically. Our world is flat.
right.
We
Well,
need the magic.
I think there's more and more people that are claiming their magic, but I think that there's so many people, at least the people that I get to work with, they just need a little help. They're not, not everybody's had a bad trauma. It's just whatever you told yourself about not being worthy of love or whatever from that 0 to 7, because of the makeup of your family, and your parents were doing the best they could. But that,
Sometimes.
well, okay,
Sometimes.
so you've had all these experiences with all these abuse storylines, whereas I'm just saying that I see a lot of people that they put their toe in the water of being uh, able to admit their genius, and they pull it back out
Oh,
because, oh
absolutely.
no, and so that's where I think I want people to know that Cherie can help you on that level as
Oh,
well.
for sure. Like the level of trauma isn't the problem, it's the loops.
That makes total sense.
It is not the problem. Like, you
For
know,
the
so working with someone that, you know, just had some minor hits, right? If they were sensitive enough and brilliant enough to make these loops, we need to undo them. That's karma, right? That's karma. We just need to undo them so that everything can run smoothly and not get be hung up, right?
Well, I can't wait to see what you end up doing. I mean, I know that when we were talking, there was so much stuff coming through, and you already have these brilliant programs and you have this brilliant way of working with people. Do you want to talk a little bit about your the astral body realignment exercise and
Oh,
explain a little bit about that?
yeah, that's I was you know, as this doctor sent me out going, hey, I don't know where you are. I don't, you know, you're not in your body. And, you know, that was probably 10 years later, I guess. I found myself in an astral travel class. And, you know, the whole conversation was, you know, now you should never astral travel alone. You need somebody there to make sure you get back in your body, right? And I'm sitting there like, I've always been able to see the whole room, right? I've always been able to see my whole body at one
Yeah,
time, right? So
yeah.
I'm sitting there and, you know, they're talking about their experiences, and I'm like, I'm not having one, right? And until she brought us back and realigned, you know, our astral bodies with the physical body. And I feel like that was the first time I'd ever looked out of my eyeballs,
Oh my gosh.
right? Because I had been ejected. I was 6 months old, right? So it was just like, no, it was a practice to stay in. So the
Right.
more I've worked with developing, yeah, because at first it was like very confining. I'm used to seeing like masses versus what's right in front of me, right? And my body was not healthy at the time, so it was not so comfortable being in. But you know, as I've developed this, like, I have a download which is just, literally like 30 seconds. Get your astral body aligned with your physical body. It's your life force. We
Right.
can't be alive. We can't be purposeful on this planet if we're over there and our body is over here,
That's right.
right? We can't, right? We came here on purpose to be a
Perfect.
human.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you're not being a human and you're just watching your body struggle, right? Now, what's beautiful is I'm a detail person. So when I'm watching like people go through this process, it's like every detail, I'm just like so excited about. But even after the first fusion, I start seeing a light in their eyes, right? And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? With each time, because it's our life force and
That's
it's
right.
been shattered and scattered, right? So
Beautiful.
they just become vibrant and alive. People that are their bodies almost look translucent sometimes, right?
Yeah. Oh, I get see. I guess I see a lot what you see,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't do what you do.
Right.
So I get it. I mean, you can walk in a room and go, oh, it's not their aura either.
No, it's
You can,
their
I don't have words for half of this stuff. I
yeah,
mean,
it's not their aura. It's like if we are a very solid hologram, right? So if you start taking molecules out of this hologram, we become more and more transparent, right?
that's
So
right.
as we start bringing the molecules back, dimension starts appearing in their body, right?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's amazing. And it's
Well,
so
and
fast.
then they can use their superpowers. See, that's what I find is when somebody can release the trauma and feel safe here, then all of that, because the human really, Todd Medina says the human is the hero, and it really we're transmuting a lot of not negative energies, but I don't like doing the polarity thing of dark and light, but we are magnificent beings, and our light it's like we got a dimmer switch on. And what Cherie does is crank out that stuff that's causing the dimmer switch and let you be that full
I
light.
like to think of ourselves if we had the most high-tech computer and we are using it like a little 1979 iPad or something,
Uh-huh.
right? So if we can go in and get those viral programs out, right?
Yeah.
Then we're going to be able to, again, if you were a Ferrari, can you drive your Ferrari from over there? You can't, right?
No,
So
no,
we have to look at ourselves and go, okay, right? What do I need to be whole?
exactly.
I also through the years I always felt haunted, and I realized it was me haunting me because I needed to remember that I had left these pieces around.
Oh, wow.
And then it became like yeah, I felt like I was being chased all the time, which a lot of my people feel like that
Uh,
because these young versions are like going, wait, you forgot me here. It's
wow.
amazing too. Sometimes when we go back, they're mad. They're like, you forgot me here. Like I have been trapped in here for you know, and it becomes a conversation of like, what can we do to talk you into like becoming a part again because they're mad, you know, and it's like,
Wow.
I know, and it's really amazing, and yeah.
Whoa, that is so cool. Well, I do have the quantumtherapeutix.com up on the screen. I'll be putting other links also into the chat or in the comments. If anybody, do yourself a favor and check out Cherie. I mean, if you want to come out of this uh, shutdown, lockdown time period as a whole new person, you may only need one session.
Yeah.
You may, I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And this is a huge opportunity to live the rest of your life in
It's
a
almost like the
whole.
world put us in a cocoon,
Yep, yep.
and we
We're
have
like,
the opportunity to come out a butterfly
right,
and not
that's
a worm, right? We
that's
have
right.
that opportunity.
Yeah, well, Olivia said thank you, and
Thank you.
Cheryl Stegman said yay, and Zana said thank you both. So you guys seriously, and there is a free program, Astral Body Alignment exercise program that Cherie has for you, and that'll give you an idea of the magic. So I highly recommend you check it out. And man, thank you so much, Cherie, for what you do. And I am so blessed to know you. I just am
Well,
honoring you.
the universe sent me you,
Yep,
Kathy,
yep.
and I'm
Now
grateful.
let's see what we can do.
Gonna go make some magic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's time.
yeah, it is.
So well, thank you all. Thank you all for coming. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And please share this message if you think it would help others. There's so many people going through this right now that all they need is just a little tweak and they would be thrilled to come out later. And
Because
they,
we can change it. We can change what this virus is
oh gosh,
doing.
it's our hologram.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, but I mean, a lot of they said that Shakespeare wrote sonnets in the bubonic plague, and there's all sorts of great art and great magic that was created during people being sequestered. So if you want yours to come out, this is. Oh, good. Olivia says she needs a tweak, but
Yeah.
you guys, this is magical. This is such a great opportunity. So anyway, okay. Well, I said it enough.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank
I
you,
love.
everyone, for hanging
Yeah.
out with us.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye.